Hey everyone, welcome to Taste Different Game Reviews. And what are we reviewing this time? Palworld. Palworld is developed and published by Pocket Pair. Came out on Windows and Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One. January 19th of 2024. Is a survival crafting game, has single player, online co-op, local co-op. It is it's the talk of the town right now, right? So this is a Palworld early access review because the game is in early access, but I think the last time I looked there was 4 million sales already, and it just came on sale not too long ago. So this game is hitting the world by storm, it would seem. It's a mixture, it's a survival crafting game with pals that you can capture. Sounds familiar, right? With balls. You got these little creatures that you can capture, but they can work at your base and fight, and they got guns. So, that's different. Before we get into this review, this episode is brought to you by Monster in My Pocket. Remember those? All right. So let's go ahead and go over to Pat, see what he thinks of Palworld. Pat, what do you think of Palworld, buddy?
Well, in the not so distant past, all we had was Pocket Monsters. Now we got Pocket Pals. So, and as of today, the 23rd, when we're recording this, they have sold over 6 million copies in 4 days. 4 days. That's insane. Like, I think they're like number 2 on the Steam list of all-time player counts right now, or something like that. Of active player count. What's not to like? To me, this takes the best of a bunch of genres and mixes them together, right? Like, this is, as much as I don't want to say this in the same vein as that, this is what Pokemon wanted to be, right? I mean, this is what Nintendo wishes Pokemon was, because they sat on a franchise that they could have done something very similar with and been very successful. But in my opinion, all the Pokemon games that have come out in the last few years have just been meh. To me, they've been meh. They've not been like, oh my God, I got to play this and I got to keep playing it. Like, I'll play them and I'll be like, okay, it's more of the same, and I'm kind of bored with it already because I've done it. But this is like Nick said, it's like a weird combination. It's like a cross between Ark and a Pokemon game, with pals. And the pals are, there is some similarities in the way they look, but they are distinct enough that, they are not Pokemon. And you could tell that. But like I said, it's a weird, interesting concept of a game, right? I mean, you build a base, you have survival concepts such as hunger. You got to feed your pals, they got to eat, but the pals can also work the base. So while you're away, they're building and farming and smelting and just doing everything and chopping down wood and getting you some ore, some rocks and stuff, and then, you come back to your base and there's you don't have to micromanage your base is what's really nice. Like, all the pals that are loose in your base have to eat. Well, you can let the pals farm the food, and they farm and bring the food all to their little stockpile area, and they eat when they get hungry. You don't have to worry yourself with making sure you get low level resources like wood and stone, because you can have them working a wood pile and a stone pile in your base and all that kind of stuff. The game holds your hand till about level 13, 14, 15. They give you little quests to kind of get you used to things, and then doing tower battles. Tower battles are, I guess, this game's concept of maybe like, arenas, the arena battles in Pokemon. But, so it's interesting, cool concept. And you can co-op those, because you can co-op everything in this game. Me and Nick have been playing on his save since we got it a few days ago. And we did dungeons together. We've done the tower battles together. We've explored and everything. And so it's a really interesting game, really interesting concept. I don't know what else to really say about it. It's just an interesting all around concept. I liked Ark. We played a lot of Ark. We just got to a point to where Ark got really too repetitive, but that took a couple of weeks, and I'll kind of wonder how this game will last in 2 weeks. What will we be doing in 2 weeks? We're about, I think, what do we make it? 17, 18, level 17, 18, just roughly playing a couple hours a night here and there. And, and things like that. But it's, it's really cool. Like I said, you can get the little pals can fight with you when you're out in the world. You can carry up to 5 of them, and they have special abilities, and you can create pal gear. So the pal gear allows you to use them as weapons or ride them or do whatever. There's nothing like picking up a Firefox and using him to shoot flames everywhere like a flamethrower, right? Or getting a little monkey with a machine gun and be like, go get him, little monkey. And he just runs after him with a machine gun, So it's a really fun game. It's an interesting concept. And I think right now, Pokemon are kind of shaking in their little Pokeballs right now because this game is dethroning them. It is outselling and outperforming Pokemon games. The thing that it is kind of, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to use rip off that they have used as influence. I will say the Pokemon pals that they have, you could tell they take influence from Pokemon. They're not direct replicas by any means because everything's a little different, but they've taken influence from it. And I believe since Pokemon has dominated the market in this type of game for so long, they just rested on those laurels and didn't do anything new and exciting and cool. And they got beat in their own game, in my opinion. But what do you think, Nick? What do you think about Pocket Pals?
Palworld?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun game. That's why it's sold as many as it has, right? It not just because of the, Pokemon-esque look to it of the creatures or, whatever. I think, that in its own right, probably in, Pokemon with guns, right? That was kind of how it was talked about before it came out. But I think once people started playing it, it's a mixture of people being interested in what it is, but also finding that once they play it, it's actually a fun game to play. And so people are like, it's not just a fad, right? It's not just like, oh, well, this game got popular because of the, because some games get popular because of the craziness of them, right? And when you play them, they're not really that great at games. It's just like every streamer and, a person out on YouTube has hopped on it because it's for some reason trending, right? Even though the game sucks, right? And some games go through that, right? Where they trend, but they're really crappy. But I think this one's trending not because it's crappy, because it's good, right? Because of the uniqueness of it and the weirdness and the kind of like aspect of Pokemon. But at the same time, it's also a good game. So people are like, yeah, it does have that. So, but it's also a fun game to play because it is. Like you said, we've been playing for, since it came out, basically. And we play a few hours every night, give or take. And it's just a lot of fun. Like I have a lot of fun playing through there and getting the pals, capturing them and exploring the world and developing new stuff for our base. And I like how even in early access, how fleshed out the pals are with their abilities and being able to work in the base and stuff like that. There's a lot of things in the game that I, even in early access, wouldn't expect those to be functioning or a part of the game. It seems like, now granted, there are things, of course, it is early access. So there are things that we see and we can say, okay, that can be improved or that they need to do something with that. But starting out in early access, the very beginning, they have thought of a lot of things that most games usually bring later on, right? The pals being able to, like Pat said, being able to kind of auto do things within the camp and you're not having to micromanage them. They collect their own food and you just got to build the thing for them to put the food into and then, build the berry plantations and the wheat plantations and everything like that, the crops for them to grow and the tree fields and the mining fields and stuff like that for them to go down, chop trees and mine rock and stuff like that. But once you get all that stuff down, you just got to find the right Pokemon or pal, I should say, that has the ability to work on that type of stuff. And it tells you, this one can do that, or whatever, and then you throw them out there and they or assign them to your base and they'll go out and do that stuff, right? And so they'll continue to do that as you play the game and you go out and you get to explore just with yourself and your pokey pals. And they level up as long as you have them with you in your inventory. You don't have to have them out and fighting, as long as you're leveling, gaining experience, so are they, as they are in your pocket, in a sense. If they're back at your base, if they're out doing stuff in the base, I think they get levels and stuff, or they expand in some form or fashion. But if they're just sitting in the PAL box, which is like just the storage for them, they don't, they just sit in there. But you can pull them in and out as you feel like, and in and out of the of your base. As your base expands, you can put more pals out to do more jobs. And it's just base building, which if you like survival crafting and base building, that's a lot of fun. Exploring the world's a lot of fun. The combat is fun. Well, it's combat's primarily basic, but it's also not, it's basic for your character, because you basically just have like a club or a spear or a crossbow or bow, and later on you can get guns and stuff. But for your Pokemon, right, because they also put in the fact that certain pals, and not Pokemon, sorry, I'm trying not to use the Pokemon name, but certain pals have abilities that contradict other pals, right? So, lightning against water, or, fire against ice, that type of thing, right? The elements. So that's really cool. I mean, it's good that they thought of that stuff and not just had because the game could be very basic, right? It could be. They didn't have to make it. So, I mean, they did, but they could have just made it really basic, where all the pals are fundamentally the same, or maybe they have an ability or something, but none of that stuff is a part of it. But they thought of all that and put all that in there. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where this game continues to go. I think right now it's a great game, and if you're not one of the millions playing it, why not, right? Unless you just don't like survival crafting games or something. But it's understandable why everybody's out there playing this game, and why this game is so popular. And you're right, Pat. I think Nintendo, they could have done something like this. And I think for a long time, people were kind of hoping for a more open world. They've kind of done open world Pokemon games, but they've all been single player or just very restrictive in the multiplayer aspect of things. And I think people were looking for a more kind of open world multiplayer Pokemon game, where you can go out and capture Pokemon and you're with your friends and stuff like that. And Pocket Pair with Palworld, they kind of said, hey, if Nintendo's not going to do it, we're going to do something. We're going to do something with it, right? We're going to make our own stuff. And you can see the similarities, but they are different enough that they won't get sued. Or if they are, I think it'd be hard for Nintendo to sue them over it, because the designs, even though they are close, they aren't exact. So you can't really say they're copying the actual image of it, because they've changed it just enough for a lot of the Pokemon, the pals that look similar, that I don't think it would hold up as far as a lawsuit would go. But for Pocket Pair, like I said, they've made something that I think Nintendo should have done. Right? They should have done something with Pokemon like that. I mean, the single player games are fun, the Pokemon games they come out with, but they can only hold your attention for so long, where something like an open world multiplayer Pokemon game, where you're going out or Pokemon-esque game, where you're going out and capturing pals in this game and being able to utilize them and have them fight in battles and with you out in the open world, and you're with your buddies and various things like that. I think that just something that people crave. Clearly, it's something that people wanted, right? And that tells me too, it wasn't just this game. There was another game too that was, for some reason, the name of the game's escaping me, but it was a game that just came out here recently, and it was one of those games that was an obscure kind of title like this, but it was played by a ton of people. Well, I'll give you a good example is the day before, right? The day before came out, it was crappy, you know, uh, it shut down like what 45 days after it came out, right? Because of the developer and stuff like that. But that was the most wishlist game on Steam. So clearly there is a desire for something like that, right? For something like that game. And the fact that we haven't even seen another developer say like, hey, let's take the concept of the day before and we'll make that, right? Because clearly there was a desire for something like that. And I think it's the same for this. There was a desire for that, and Pocket Pair in this game created that desire, and that desire's working out for them with the amount of sales they've gotten so far. And that's not I'm assuming that's not including the people that are playing it through Game Pass.
Yeah, the 1.8. Yeah, no, I think that's Steam number of Steam current, because the Game Pass numbers, I don't think they're getting reported on, and there's a whole bunch of differences in Game Pass and Steam. I'm one of the things that I'm a little bit, it's early access, so don't get anything misconstrued. It's early access. I understand is that you can't have a dedicated server on the Xbox side of things. No dedicated server. You can run your own if you're on the PC side, or the PC side, the Steam side of it. Even the Game Pass PC, you don't have dedicated server capabilities. Right now they're working on it. It's early access, so yeah, I would say, yeah, this is people are into survival crafting games. I mean, it's just, especially with friends. I mean, if you get 3-4 friends in a survival crafting game, it's just a lot of fun, right? You got people building stuff, you got people harvesting resources, and this kind of feels like that even when you're by yourself a little bit, because of the pals doing some of the work, right? So, does the game have problems? Yes. It's got some pathing problems, some AI issues with the pals. When you want them to go do something, they run off, go do something else, or whatever. You're trying to pick a pal up in combat to use them as a flamethrower. Something doesn't want to work, whatever. It has weird issues like that. It is what it is, but they will fix it. I mean, it's early access, and you have to understand that is what you're signing up for, is early access. I only see it getting better if it's this good now, as long as they don't abandon it. Then I see it getting even better. I agree with Nick that I don't honestly see that that Nintendo's got a leg to stand on for a lawsuit. They would have to prove that something that's really not there. I think the worst thing, though, the thing that probably would get Nintendo's attention more than anything is pals with guns kind of spins Pokemon in a bad light, right? So, but they're not Pokemon, they're pals. So they're pocket pals, not pocket monsters. So, it's a great game. And these guys, they make some good stuff. I mean, Craftopia was one of those that's also in early access too, I think still. And it's a good game. I mean, me and Nick played it. It wasn't like this good. It was interesting concept for a survival crafting game. Craftopedia. I can't speak. Craftopia. I keep saying Craftopedia, not Wikipedia. It's Craftopia. So I mean, and it's a good game, but it's early access as well. So, and they just have a lot of stuff like that. They have a few things like that. I think they have another one called Over Dungeon that I have not played at all. I don't know if you played that one, but I think it's a card battle game. So I've not played that one. But I mean, it's a cool concept. You can ride pals. You got a flying pal. You can eventually build saddles for it and ride on the back of it while it flies over the landscape. There's biomes. There's hot biomes, cold biomes. There'll probably be even more by the time this game comes out. It's just taking the best of a lot of game. I mean, there's like some Valheim thrown in there with their biomes, some art, and some Pokemon. It's just got a little bit of everything mishmashed into what I would call a really close to perfect combination. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with it. And I really am looking forward to a roadmap to see what they plan on adding and features and functions like that. But just be mindful, it is early access. So if you get into it, it has bugs. I mean, there's a big one running around right now that if you take this certain potion or medicine, that it reverts, you lose capture ability, and it's a permanent loss of capture ability that you can't regain. So it's a buggy game. It's going to have bugs in it. It's not that buggy, in my opinion, but it has bugs, and some of them are game-breaking bugs. So be careful and be mindful.
Yeah, and it has some quality of life improvements that it definitely needs to work through. So I agree. I hope that they don't abandon the project. I hope they continue to develop for the game and stuff like that, because I think it'd be a really good game. Continue to be a really good game. It does remind me of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different games, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, kind of in there, and like I said, Pokemon's kind of in there, and Ark is kind of in there, and it's just like a mixture of a whole bunch of stuff, but it works, right? It works out really well. And there have been games that have done kind of like that, not in a survival crafting game, but games that have taken like bits and pieces from other games and kind of mashed them into a game. And those ideas have worked. One thing I think of is like was it Darksiders? The first one that reminded me so much of Legend of Zelda, but it was, and that's what people were like, that's a Legend of Zelda ripoff, but it was a really good Legend of Zelda inspired game, right? I mean, they just took the Legend of Zelda game and made a totally different game out of it, and it worked, right? And so it felt like Palworld did the same thing. They took, in their case, they took a hodgepodge of a bunch of different stuff and kind of pushed it together, and it all functions and forms and works really well together. So, yeah, I mean, this game is a ton of fun. I would highly recommend it. If you got Game Pass, you can go check out the Game Pass version. It is on Game Pass. I heard they're working to get a version of the game out on PlayStation. So, so for PlayStation users, you might be looking to get into the Palworld here soonish, hopefully. I did read that they were working on getting a version of it for PlayStation. Maybe it'll come out to the PlayStation Plus, and then if you have that, you can just play it, right? Like they did with Game Pass. So, but if not, it's out on Steam. I think it's on like $28 or something like that. $23. I can't remember how much. It was somewhere around there. Because it's on sale right now, or at least it was at the time.
Normally 30, like what, $29.99. I think it's on sale for like $26.99 or something like that.
Something like that. But for early access, like it's you're going to have a lot of fun playing it. I mean, we're still having fun. We're still going through there and doing things. I'm having a good time playing it, and I think it's definitely worth $30. Clearly, us and what he said, 6 million copies. Us and 6 million other people thought the same thing. So, it's a really good game. But again, this is early access, like Pat said. So caveat out there, if you're not big into early access or survival crafting, definitely you can wait until they start updating this game more. I'm sure since it's sold so many copies, they're probably working like crazy to get updates out there and stuff, because they want to keep that momentum going, right? Any company wants to keep that momentum going so they can keep selling and selling. So, and that's good. That means that more than likely they'll continue to develop and work on the game because it's sold so much, right? Which is good for everybody. That that this game is that good that that people are buying it and they'll continue to develop it. So I'm looking forward to see what they continue to add to the game and put into the game and fix. Like I said, there's a lot of quality of life improvements. There are bugs and things like that, but I don't think it's that buggy either. I mean, it's not. So far, I have, we've ran into bugs and various things like that. I've even ran into the game crashing on me. But there hasn't been anything so far for me. I know that bug you were talking about with the potion, but so for me, that has really like deterred my experience with it, right? I still have fun. If something happens, I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll just get back into the game if it crashes, or if I see a certain bug, I'm like, I just avoid that for now, right? Until they fix it. But nothing's been so buggy that I'm like, this game is impossible to play, or that it degrades the experience of the fun that the game's trying to purvey. So, but yeah, all around great game, I think. You got anything else you want to say about it?
No? Nope. It's aiming to unseat PUBG as the number one most concurrent player counts on Steam right now. It's second, so only to PUBG. So it's got to get 3.5. I think it's at 1.8 million. So it's trending up, and it's only been out for 4 days.
Yeah. Until something else comes out and takes the spot, which, I mean, in February, we are getting a lot of big hits. In the next few months, a lot of big games are coming out. But for now, you know, this is the game to play. You know, at the early outset of 2024, the only thing we have is, besides Palworld, is Prince of Persia. And then there hasn't really been anything else, you know, at least for me, that's been really, you know, was it Tekken 8 just came out here, or is just coming out here recently, and then Like a Dragon is coming out here soon. Probably by the time this is out there and this video is out, those games will probably be out already. But those are the next big games. So, you know, those games could take some of the limelight away from Palworld, but I think a lot of the players will probably stick around. You know, you can play them more than one game. So, but as the months continue and the year continues, of course, we'll see how the numbers continue to grow or dissolve for the game as it continues. But hopefully it continues to ramp up. And then, like I said, the developers keep working on the game and stuff. But I'm sure we'll be back for when the game does in full release. You know, I'm sure we'll do another video for a full release review, or a revisiting the game as a full release, to let you know how it's ramped up. I think we did the same thing for Grounded, which is another great survival crafting game. If you haven't played Grounded, I would suggest that one too. If you're looking for survival crafting games, Grounded is a lot of fun, especially with friends. I think we did an early access review of that one, and then we did a full, when the game came out, full review, and it was great. That game was great in early access, and it was still great. It was even better at full release. So, you know, some survival crafting games some are good and some are bad. But when you find the good ones, it's good to call them out and say, hey, this is a good survival crafting game to play, especially with your friends and stuff. So, but thanks for watching, everybody. Let us know down in the comments below. Are you playing Palworld? And if so, are you part of that 6 million? Are you playing Palworld? Let us know what you think of the game, if you're enjoying it. You know, if not, you know, you can let us know why you're not playing it. Maybe you don't have Xbox Game Pass. Maybe you don't have a PC. I don't know. Or an Xbox in general. Maybe you're just not in survival crafting games, right? Some people aren't. Some people just don't like that genre, and that's cool. That's fine. There's some genres of games I don't like either. So everyone's got their lanes. But let us know down in the comments below. Other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Help us out. Do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. And we'll see you next time.